when you're providing a service and an experience for people and trying to create something for people, it's more than just learning how to do that skin fade off YouTube and taking the money and see you later. You know, 100%. You can provide real value, and I think the more value that you give to the people who come to you, the more value you can create for yourself as well from that.
Last week I was in Madrid, flew in from Madrid really early on and got to the academy, and we worked till 8 o'clock at night now. If you're not invested in your students, you know what I mean, and their personal development, then you wouldn't do that, and that's what gives me my energy, you know, is just seeing how grateful they are and how quickly they develop, you know.
I seen it when I was in the course as well. I'm not sure how many people out of the course that I actually done that really then continued to cut hair, you know what I mean?
Hi, welcome to the Noble Barber Podcast. I'm Anthony Leban, and we'll be talking to various people in the industry who've made it and their journey and how they got here. Talking honest, cutting through the crap, and making sure your story and their story is heard to help your business and hopefully mine. If you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button, and I hope you enjoy this episode. Hi there, I'm Anthony Leban, and this is the Noble Barber Podcast. I am here at the Great British Barber Bash in Belfast, packed to the gills with people, having a great time. I'm here with Owen Murphy. Thank you. Great to see you. And with Jeffrey Batista.
Likewise. Lovely to meet you.
And obviously, guys, you're both MenSpire.
Yep.
But your journeys are the ones that have really caught me. Certainly, I'm really interested. You know, your kind of Netherlands adventure.
Yeah.
And your move now into the kind of education side so strongly.
The UK side.
And it's been great chatting to you previously about how you see things.
Yeah.
And certainly how you see young barbers coming into it. But if we can backtrack a bit and just talk about, you know, the start, you know, and maybe, Owen, we could start with you, just a quick breather of how you kind of picked up the first pair of scissors to where we are now.
How I first got into it was, I'm from a really small village in Ireland, and in that village there was one barber, but that barber was like the center focus of all of the young people, where they wanted to go, where they wanted to hang out, get their haircut and look fresh. So when I was going there at 15, 16, started to brush the floor and kind of saw the barber as the center point of the hub of the community of all my friends, and everyone went there, and when they left they were feeling good and they were looking good as well. And I didn't want to go to school, I didn't want to continue with education, and I saw barber as the job where I can earn some money. Yep. I can maybe have the potential to travel and take my job elsewhere around the world with ease. And it was just a really cool place. I could hang out with my friends and have a good time while doing what I do with my job. You know what I mean?
I love that even that there, the barber shop is that kind of centre of a community. I'm going to jump between you actually, because your start point was not dissimilar, presumably, a Glasgow boy.
No, actually, I'm actually from a small town outside of Glasgow called Ayr. And Ayr, A-Y-R. And my start into the barbering industry was a little bit later. I actually got into the industry when I was 26 after serving 8 years in the armed forces in the army. And really, I just found that after 8 years, I was just really lacking that inspiration. You know, it really became a mundane job, especially the army being so regimented. Very, very great for certain things in terms of like self-discipline and other things like that. But certainly just over the time, just started to lose that kind of passion for it and started to look elsewhere for that type of inspiration, you know, like many others are now doing.
And did you go back to Ayr to start your barbering career?
So I didn't actually, I actually travelled to Glasgow. That's how I came into it, because at the time there was a very famous brand in Glasgow called Rebel, and they were doing really, really well. And they'd actually teamed up with a local college there. Although it was privatised, the course, I actually sought a 12-week kind of zero to hero course, you know, which is interesting, as we'll kind of get into that a little bit later on.
Sure.
But certainly that was like my introduction into it, you know, that 12-week kind of zero to hero.
Good call. And from your wee village where the community all saw you guys as the greatest place on earth, you then shipped out to the mainland with a chance encounter with Josh LaMonica, or?
So Josh visited Ireland back when I was 16.
Right.
And I was cutting hair in the barber shop, and I was a little bit aware that Josh was over my head watching me. So I had my best technique on.
Excellent.
And he saw me cutting hair, and then after 2 days of teaching and 2 days of course, Josh came up to me and he's like, "Oh, I would love to have you out to join us at MenSpire." And I thought he wanted me to do a course. So I said, "I'd love to come and do a course." But he says, no, I mean to work. I almost dropped on the spot, you know what I mean? I was 15, 16, and I went home and told my parents, I was like, well, Josh wants me to come and work for MenSpire. And they were like, yeah, okay. So me and Josh, we were in contact a little bit over text, but over that, nothing really came from it. But I find myself again in the same sort of village in the small town, and there wasn't really any room for growth or anything like that there. So I went to St. Albans and I done another course again with MenSpire. And then on that course, I met Josh again. And then I pressed that point again that I really want to be a part of the team and I want to join MenSpire. So we had a nice conversation. And then I came out again for the next installment of the course. I met Sam. And then on that day, I had an interview with Sam. And then I got the job when I was out for the course when I was 17, actually, in London, doing that course. So then I came home again and I told my parents, I'm going to work for MenSpire. And of course, they didn't believe me because I told them it one time before. So I had to get my phone up and show them the group chat that I was moving. So they were a bit surprised.
The receipts.
But
Wow.
But I was all for it. I was only 17 when I got the job. I was turning 18 in a few months. And then just a few months after that, then I moved from Ireland to England to work for MenSpire, and that was the start of the journey, really. So it was.
Oh, cool. And from your point of view, I'm just trying to link you boys together because eventually your paths cross.
Yeah, he comes down the line a little bit. To be fair.
So you're working Rebel.
So I'm working at Rebel. Obviously, just finished my 12-week course, and it was an amazing time there. You know, I really, really enjoyed it under Alan Finlay, who at the time was really, really creative. You know, done some work in like some London fashion shows and things like that.
They were quite evident in the capital.
You know, so it was great for me. It was like a perfect fit, and we actually struck up a really good relationship together. But then obviously again, it just led me just to moving on just for that seeking that self-improvement. You know, ended up joining another salon, 19 under Grant Carr. And he had a bit more of a variety at that salon. He had a little bit of hairdressing, and a couple of the hairdressers had actually moved from as we know now, the famous Sassoon. So that was that was like a light bulb moment. Oh, like maybe I can learn from like these, and I was really, really interested in that kind of precision-based haircutting. So that's how my kind of love for that originally started, you know. And then obviously, naturally, as we have nowadays, you've got social media. Whoever gets into the barbering industry nowadays and doesn't know MenSpire, or certainly Josh LaMonica, you know, seeing his haircuts and the way that he does things, and certainly all the other MenSpire educators like Owen Murphy.
But when you joined, how long have you been with MenSpire? When was
So
that?
I have now been with MenSpire. Well, I actually done my course 3 years ago. So I went down to the academy 3 years ago.
And your course was with, there you go, I knew I'd get you there.
Yeah, one of Jeff's first courses I was teaching on the course.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And immediately, to be fair, we clicked.
Yeah, we did.
Pretty right
the
away.
Old small town,
Yeah.
small town boy link.
I was Irish, he was Scottish, so we had a nice
It's
feeling
just got
together
that
straight
kind
away.
of
So we
Celtic
did.
connection,
Yeah,
you know.
I love it.
Yeah, I was working for MenSpire maybe I started in 2017 with MenSpire, and as soon as I joined MenSpire, I was relishing the chance to join the brand, you know. I think I felt like almost a little bit constrained in my hometown with how much I could create or how much you could really express yourself really with hair and in the industry there. So when I came to MenSpire, I was like, this is my chance to really do everything I wanted. So it was like a sponge really every day. I was in the salon more or less like 6 days a week, and then that other day of the week, if there was a course on, I'd be in the academy, you know. So I was fully immersing myself in it and taking as much from the salon and the standards and the service, and then as much as the education I could get. And I think over time, from assistant to being the second educator.
You were quite a highly ranked educator by the time you arrived, presumably.
Yeah, so by the time Jeff had come, I'd started doing. I was fully just running courses, to be fair. I was leading courses in the academy, and I travelled around with Josh and assisted on shows and taught on shows internationally. So by the time Jeff came, I had started to take one-to-one private students, and that was in
I think that was in what? 2022?
2022, yeah.
So you went along and it was a one-to-one you went on?
No, actually, kind of getting back into it, I actually met Owen through the fading. I went down to do the 3-day fade course, and then because I wanted my experience at MenSpire, I knew that, look, if I'm going down, I want the ultimate experience, you know. If I knew that there was areas in my work that I needed improving. One of them was obviously fading. Everybody loves to be able to do like a really, really nice fade. And another one was I didn't want to be that barber that was running away from that longer hair when it came into the salon, because I just didn't feel confident, you know. So I really wanted to work on that aspect of my work, which then led me to, well, concurrently, I was lucky that MenSpire were running the fade course and the course shapes course the week after. So I thought, look, perfect. I'm just going to book those two courses and just do it all in the winner. And that's when my path with Owen crossed, when he was teaching on that. And as Owen was saying earlier on, I feel like the way he's been at MenSpire is the way that I think, and that way that he wanted to be a sponge and work as much as possible and learn as much as possible. In terms, we're so similar like that, you know, and that's what kind of that
but
connection.
You came from a very different background in the fact that you did most of your training in a small barber shop, and obviously you had, you know, London Fashion Week.
Yeah, I was not. Yeah,
kind of bases.
Oh, yeah, although they'd done that work, I'd never actually experienced it, but I knew that they'd actually been involved on those sort of projects, which was obviously as a beginner barber, that's like exciting, you know, when you see that imagery of like those high-end fashion shoots, you know. And
then really from both of you, I mean, that's a really nice idea that you've both come into it and kind of gone, this is my opportunity, and kind of vacuumed it up. When did you make the move from kind of paying to know Owen to actually being employed by
MenSpire? Well, actually, you know, when I went down to do my one-to-one course with Owen, naturally, because it's such a private environment, you kind of open up a little bit more, don't you? And I kind of expressed my interest of actually getting involved, and I said, look, Owen, I'm at the point in my career where it's kind of, look, I'm 27, 28 now. I don't have time to waste, you know. I really need to get the ball rolling, and I honestly feel that my piece is in this place, you know, surrounded by these people who are so passionate. And he was like, well, look, let's open up a conversation with obviously the co-founder, Sam Palmer, and that's how it really kind of started. He then passed on my details to.
Like when you came,
Sam.
you were obviously really wanted to know a lot about hair and that, but I also remember like really wanted to join, like be a part of the brand and join the brand. And I think like when you do education and when you're teaching, you can kind of see those students and you can see those people who are on the group who really maybe want to take more away from it, you know what I mean? And maybe when you come on education and you come on a course, it seems like very far away.
Sure.
But once you actually get a bit more personal and you get to know the students a little bit more, you realize there actually is a pathway into the company, and you just have to open up that conversation and make it happen, you know what I mean?
Now you've both gone on kind of quite different journeys within MenSpire, in the fact that you now, give me your full title.
Co-director of MenSpire in the Netherlands, to be honest.
And that's covering how many stores have you got?
We have 9 salons in the Netherlands, so we do. So we started off in Amsterdam, and we have now 7 salons in Amsterdam, 1 in Maastricht, which is in the south of the Netherlands, and then 1 in Haarlem, which is a smaller city just on the outskirts of Amsterdam.
Oh, wow.
So it's really,
and
really
your
nice.
job takes you around all of them at some point, or are you based in...
Yeah, so I'm co-director of 3 of the salons in the city, and then obviously by being co-director of 3 of the salons, I obviously then overlook all of the rest of the salons as well, so kind of helping mentor all of the newer guys on the team and the staff and the salons, keeping the standards high in the salons, and then making sure that all of the staff and everyone there is really getting what they want to get from the company and achieving their goals.
And it's obviously been able to do what they want to do. MenSpire's been taken to the Dutch heart, if you've got that.
Yeah, really, to be honest, I think like from when MenSpire, I think it wasn't so easy at the start, but I think the people in the Netherlands, they really took well to MenSpire. I don't think there was really a concept like that in the Netherlands or in Amsterdam, and something that's very fashion focused, forward thinking, and providing really high quality service and like really beautiful haircuts.
I think there's a great scene in
people are into their hair, they're into their fashion, and especially I think when it's somewhere for only men to come and there's an environment where they can relax and just get a really beautiful service and leave looking and feeling great.
Yeah.
Then once people have that for the first time and they've never experienced it, they want to tell people and share it with their friends and tell family about it, you know. You can see a big community around the salons there as well, you know. Like,
but that's fantastic that you're doing.
I don't know if you've seen the salons as well. Like, they're absolutely gorgeous.
It's
you know?
really beautiful.
They're
gorgeous salons,
like,
to be fair.
The first impressions when you walk into some of the salons in the Netherlands are stunning, you know. So you really get that experience, that high-end premium experience from the get-go, just by stepping in the door without even like having to get your
that's one of the things that stood out to me.
Definitely one of the first companies that crossed over. It didn't need to look like the kind of traditional barber
Exactly,
shop.
and I think that's what stood out to me when I came to the Netherlands is Nas, who is the director of the Netherlands. He's the guy who brought MenSpire to the Netherlands,
okay.
Nas Mea, and the design and the eye for detail I think he has for the salons and how high his standards are for the salons and for everything is what drew me also to go there and work with him, because when I came I was like blown away with how much passion he had for the brand, and I wanted to be like a part of that again. I had the similar feeling when I went to the Netherlands as I did the first time I met Josh. The first time I met Josh and Sam to join MenSpire, I was blown away by the philosophy and the mindset and the kind of opportunities it allows you to have from cutting hair, because when I was cutting hair in Ireland, it was kind of, you can cut hair, you can do okay, and then that's maybe, you can have your own shop or something like that. But when I saw MenSpire, it created something you could create a good lifestyle and a good life for yourself out of cutting hair. And when I came to the Netherlands, it was like that next step again, where they were taking it to another level, and I wanted to be a part of that again.
Your life now is Dutch.
It's based in Amsterdam, to be honest.
From your point of view now, you were just saying that you've now sort of moved away from. You're now fully educating.
So I've actually now took charge, or certainly now the lead educator of our foundations course, which is about.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. And now that's led me to work more closely with Josh in that aspect, which is obviously really, really nice, as we've already had that kind of like bond together that we've established. And it's a role that I'm really embracing and really loving, because I believe that with the experience that I've gained, certainly although it's been a short career so far, it's only been 5 years in total since I've actually started cutting hair, but I've developed a lot of life experience for the previous jobs, and certainly doing a bit of travelling and things like that. So certainly it's, as we were saying, I believe that now it's so important with so many young barbers coming into the industry for them to have that kind of role model already in place, you know, that can help develop them, because it's not just always about cutting hair, it's a lot of it's about mindset and being that role model figure, you know, especially when they are so young, coming in at 16, 17, 18, you know, they're still developing, they're still trying to get a grasp of life, and if they've got somebody already there that can lead them, and then it's certainly the helping hand that they almost need, you know.
Yeah, I think that is something that can get missed. I think when you're seeing so much kind of self-taught barbers, or online taught barbers, that kind of thing, or that are dipping in and patchworking, you know, a couple of days here, a bit of this, bit of that. That they may get the skills, and some will commit themselves and practice. They're not getting that kind of guide into the kind of industry and steered away from the potholes and
and it just kind of becomes cutting hair and doing a haircut and just giving a haircut to someone.
It's very easy to fall into that, isn't it?
When you're providing a service and an experience for people and trying to create something for people, it's more than just learning how to do that skin fade off YouTube and taking the money and see you later. You know, 100%. You can provide real value, and I think the more value that you give to the people who come to you, the more value that you get, and the more value you can create for yourself as well from that.
And it's lovely seeing people grow. I mean, you know, from 100%. Your point of view now, you must. You know, I've trained an awful. I've been barbering and hairdressing 40 years, so I've trained a few. And it's wonderful seeing them kind of go from like shy, awkward 16, 17 year old
that's
to being really confident, banged out, doing their thing. It's a great payback.
We're starting to see a lot more of that in the Netherlands as well, because we've got a team of like 30 barbers almost there in Amsterdam, and it started off like with maybe 10 or 12 when I first got there. And you've seen the people who've stayed and stuck with the brand, how they've went from that, as you say, that maybe shy, awkward, not knowing how to deal with situations, to now growing through the ranks of stylist, senior stylist, creative director. And now I'm starting to build a MenSpire Academy in the Netherlands as well. So we're starting to launch our academy in Amsterdam.
Wow.
And I've seen people who've started at the same time as me in Amsterdam as a stylist grow through the ranks, and now they're on the education team in the Netherlands, about to host their own one-to-ones, and the things that they've experienced through being in the salon with us, they're going to now start passing on to the next people who come to our academy, you know.
I mean, it's very similar to what you've maybe seen with myself also, you know, like going from one of your students to now effectively leading the MenSpire Academy UK, you know, the education.
And I'm only taking the things really that I learned from my journey and the things that I learned from Josh and Sam, or the other people the experiences I got from the industry and from the brand in England that I've brought to the Netherlands, and can then pass that on to the next group of people coming through the company there as well, you know. So it's a really beautiful cycle so you start to see, you know.
If I can kind of retreat back a little bit into the fact of why do you think the MenSpire approach to training has been so kind of well taken to? I mean, it is, you know, it's the kind of,
do you know what?
It's so loved. You can see the crowds around you. Barber Connect, we were surrounded as soon as we started talking about MenSpire. It has a real kind of tribe of followers. It has a real kind of audience.
I think primarily it's down to the people, you know, that are behind the education. Obviously, the personality that Josh has, of course, that showmanship that he offers is a natural attraction to people as well. Also, I think like the MenSpire way, the way that we teach is such a comfortable, relaxing environment, and we make like the haircuts that look very, very difficult to do, actually very simplistic, and it is easy to teach. And when people realise that they're like, wow, you know, it's kind of like they see these Instagrams and they see these haircuts on Instagram and think, wow, that looks really difficult. And then when we actually break it down and teach it to the individual or to the students, they're like, wow, that's actually really, really easy. And I think that's why it's had such a great success, you know.
I mean, it does seem like we're in a period, maybe it's coming to an end, we're in a period that's been people trying to really overcomplicate quite simple techniques. Which I've always thought a little bit, maybe they don't quite understand it themselves. And I think to really, to be able to teach cleanly and simply, you've got to really understand the craft.
I think from the outside looking in, sometimes it may look like you're overcomplicating or you're trying to make it too technical, but I think when you do take that step into the education, it's broken down into a really simple, fundamental formula. And I think why it's so good and why it grows a lot is because I think it's pure, I think it's honest, I think it's no faff, and it's honest, really. I think that's why, because you have that genuine side of it as well.
You've heard Josh talk about it a lot, you know, like Josh says it a lot, that it used to be a case of look what I can do, and it's like now a case of look what we can do. And that's very, very important. I think that's why we've had such success, because it's not about withholding that information and us trying to be the best of the best. It's just like ultimately trying to make the industry a better place, you know. And that's why people kind of stay with us and have that loyalty, is because we bring them up from zero and we make them into these great stylists, and eventually if that's the path that they want to go down to, educators or certainly salon owners, you know. And
I mean, it does seem like as a company, there's, like you would in any company, an awful lot of companies away from our industry, there's a kind of career path that you can choose to follow, or you can go for a bit and get it on your CV and jump somewhere else. And you know, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there seems to be not so many companies that set out, listen, you can join us here, and this is where you could go.
I mean,
you guys do seem to have that.
And that's why I think
couldn't cut hair when I started.
Yeah, exactly.
you're the pro.
I wasn't really that good when I started, to be honest. I think I was
still questionable.
You're the poster boy.
No, I was the highlight of higher character trained skill. I think I was the prime example of that.
No, it really is amazing, I think.
But I think one of the things that we're kind of just to speak on a little bit, what you said there was, we tell anybody that joins us at MenSpire to set goals and try and achieve those goals. You know, when you don't have a goal in mind or you're not working towards a goal, I think that's when it can get really frustrating, and you can certainly feel really lost in your journey, which is almost like kind of what I had, you know. I knew that I wanted to seek that higher knowledge and get better at my craft, but eventually, like when I joined MenSpire, it was like kind of mapped out for me, like, right, well, if you do this, this is the next step, and this is the next level, and it felt like, wow, like I've really got now these goals to progress and kind of keep ticking these boxes in order to achieve them. So that's what ultimately has led me into the position as well. Also, to mention that I've been lucky to have mentors like Josh and Sam who have got this kind of wealth of experience. Josh certainly over 20 years that he's managed to consolidate for me and get me up to a point where I'm at now in 5 years. So it's all about who you have as a mentor as well, which I think is so important, and it kind of briefly touches on what we spoke about earlier on as well. So these are all key vital things and when you're trying to achieve these goals.
So both of you have great careers and have had this amazing journey. But here we are. You're showcasing work. You've travelled over to Belfast. Presumably, you're travelling a lot. What's still driving you to keep passing on the word, keep sharing the knowledge? Yeah, these gigs are tiring.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, it is. But do you know what I get my energy from? I just get my energy from about seeing people develop and seeing them getting better. I think there's no more fulfilling things. I was speaking to Josh about this a couple of days ago. What makes it all worthwhile for me is when I've got, for example, my foundation students. We've got a little group chat that we've got where I kind of pass like any information on about what's happening throughout the week. But they'll send in some really, really lovely messages, about them having a great day. And at the end of the day, that's what makes it all worth it. And that's what really drives me and gives me that energy. For example, like last week I was in Madrid, flew in from Madrid really early on and got to the academy, and we worked till 8 o'clock at night now. If you're not invested in your students, you know what I mean, and their personal development, then you wouldn't do that. And that's what gives me my energy, is just seeing how grateful they are and how quickly they develop, so that's really what gives me my energy.
What about yourself? You got enough to be getting on with?
What gives me the energy is definitely the team of people that we have in Amsterdam, to be honest.
Yeah, of course.
Crazy team of people, stylists, and from like the NAST who's pushing the business further, and the team of stylists that we have who are pushing the standards higher in the salons.
Is it quite a multicultural community that you've got there, or is it a very Dutch?
No, multicultural. I think maybe the Dutch is maybe the minority in the group, to be honest. Yeah,
because of the gateway to Europe, effectively.
Yeah, I guess so.
We've it's like the European Championships there when you go there.
Champions League.
Italian, Spanish, Greek, Polish, Irish.
But these are barber shops. These are stores. These are haircut.
These are the salons.
Businesses.
The salons are like really high-end salons, I would say, to be honest. In Amsterdam, I think the level of service that is being delivered, the standards of the haircuts that are coming out of the salons, and
because there's always
friendly
been quite
competition
a good scene,
feeling in
the Shoreham boys, obviously, and you've got these great this great heritage of barbering that's happened there. But what MenSpire is different. Is very different to that group.
I think that's what people really feel. I think when they come, you come in, you get offered coffee, tea, water. You can sit in a really comfortable area when you're waiting to get your haircut, and then when you do finally get to the chair, the experience has already been started from that moment you've walked in through the door. And I think maybe some people don't know the difference out of that 7 out of 10 and a 10 out of 10. Yeah. But I guarantee they feel 10 out of 10 when they leave the salon,
100%.
I mean, I think that is a big bit that we've spoken about quite a lot on here, that it's everything else that makes the experience
100%.
important. The haircut's a component.
It's like when you say those self-taught barbers, they teach themselves how to do the haircut, but it's a very small, as you say, component out of everything that we do. You know what I mean?
I think a lot of it is learning how to communicate.
It's a service, isn't it? Like, let's be honest. Like, everybody loves to feel pampered. When you step into that 5-star hotel, you love to feel like you're getting looked after, and that's what kind of MenSpire offers from the get-go.
And it does. Yeah, I mean, both my boys, they'll every now and again get a mention, and they're now in their 20s. I made them both do a summer working in one of the shops when they were 13.
Yep.
And both of them will still say it was the best thing I ever did, because they learned how to look people in the eye, shake hands, have a conversation. And they started as awkward, palm sweaty, awkward little 13-year-olds who didn't want to speak. And it brought them out of it. And I think being in a store and working with people is a vital part of it.
The brands give me that confidence to be able, like working for MenSpire has given me that confidence to grow within myself, you know what I mean? Not just to be able to pull the hair better and cut a cleaner cutting line, but to be a more confident, better person in general, you know what I mean? And I started off charging £5, I think, in the first barber shop I worked in. And now, like, for a haircut and beard is €80 and €100. So that feeling that the confidence that you get and the value that you can give to someone else is also, you can grow in to be able to do things like that as well for yourself.
Just to catch on that, because every time we talk prices, it goes a little bit crazy out there. Is that very, very expensive by comparison to the rest of the Netherlands, or is that
the entry price of a haircut in Amsterdam, MenSpire Amsterdam, is €45.
Okay.
And I think that's a fair price in the city, to be honest.
Then it's tiered within MenSpire.
Then it's tiered within that, yeah. But I think in general the rates in the Netherlands are quite a little bit higher for services. But I think we provide really, really good value. So.
And you're still cutting behind a chair?
Yeah.
How much do you do?
Sorry?
How many do you do? How many days a week are you in there? Or
in Amsterdam, 2 days a week.
Well done.
And then the other 3-4 days a week that I'm around the salons or with the brand is either teaching the staff, checking in the salons, making sure the guys are happy, and also in some of our newer salons. So when a new salon opens up, maybe it needs a bit more attention, so we spend a little bit more time there. So I think, 2 busy days cutting in the shop.
And how are you feeling about stopping your column and being a full-time educator?
Well, I still technically do 4 days a month in the salon, you know. I also learned this from Sam Palmer, that the salon still keeps you humble, you know.
Definitely.
And effectively, like, once you get a step away a little bit from the salon, almost like you can lose a little bit of that skill set, you know, like, because you're not kind of operating as much, you know. It's naturally, it's a skill that needs time. So naturally, when you step away from it, it can fade. You can get skill fade. So it's good to always keep that kind of skill fade up, keep on point, and still be able to offer your clients that kind of got you into the position that you're in, that level of service. Like, still got to remember, they're the ones that put you there. Yeah. So it's good to still be able to look after them. For example, one of my clients yesterday, because I was doing a private education course, couldn't get in with me. So I said, look, he said, it's my wedding the next day. So I really desperately need a haircut. So obviously, naturally, I went down and I was able to give him a haircut, obviously free of charge. It's my little wedding gift to him. But it's the little details like that still keep people like in that circle, in that group of circle, and keep them coming back, you know. So I still love it. And it's also a little bit of time that I get to spend with the boys in the salon when I don't often get to see them, you know. So
that's cool. I mean, coming away from MenSpire a little bit, and I don't know how you guys feel about this, we haven't spoken, but we've had a fair amount of conversation about the education that's coming through our colleges, you know, our state finance colleges. And you guys are having success, and MenSpire's success is good quality barbers teaching good quality barbering to aspiring barbers. We seem to find there's an awful lot missed in our colleges, and we're being trained by hairdressers or being trained by people who haven't really cut hair for 30 years.
Yeah.
Sorry, what you were saying?
I started in the college as well.
Okay. Have you got a thought on that?
Yeah, it's tough, isn't it?
Controversial.
No, it's tough,
I
isn't
don't
it?
want to put you on the spot, but I'm really
because-
interested because you're obviously kind of educators at a really high level.
Yeah.
And we have this problem that we're not getting barbers that are working behind chairs going into colleges and teaching. They're being taught by people who haven't worked in a salon.
I think to that level of, you're right, there is that. But I think also what makes it a great thing is, for example, the Great British Barber Bash, like their education team are doing a lot of like things in college where they're kind of educating in those public colleges, so they're helping raise that level of it. I think it's just naturally, when you get into such a safe position in whatever job role, you just become comfortable, and that's what tends to happen, you know. And
then the standards are very easy
and then
to.
you lose a little bit. You lose a little bit of that touch, of that sense of like what really got you going once upon a time, you know. So I think that's what just naturally happens, because obviously when you kind of talk about like public colleges, you'll hear that a lot of the educators there don't tend to move on. They just tend to hang on to that job position for as long as they can, even to probably even retirement, a lot of them, because it does offer them that sense of security, because naturally every day once you pass a certain age, it's got commitments and bills to pay.
But it's sad though, because there's a lot of people who come into those courses maybe with big aspirations,
and
big
high
hopes, high energy, and then that can. I seen it when I was in the course as well. I'm not sure how many people out of the course that I actually done that really then continued to cut hair. You know what I mean? And I think you have to. Yeah, you sort of have to stay strong yourself and have your own head really locked to know that what you want to do and what you want to get out of it, because maybe that college environment doesn't give you
that's one of the things that I do think, you know, you're saying about mentoring. There is that point of actually stopping wherever you are in your career and you must have done it when you left Ireland, and you must have done it when you left the services. But you've got to sit down and kind of go, where do I want to go? What am I going to do? Maybe you can't kind of clarify that journey exactly.
Yeah.
But just taking a bit of control and taking a moment to kind of go, like, this college isn't working for me. It doesn't mean I have to throw my career away. I'll try it in a different route.
I think I done it from my mum and dad, to be fair.
Right.
Because I was in the college when I was 16, and I was working. So I started in like the small barbershop in my village, and then when I was in that with that guy in my village, I was kind of like, okay, there's nowhere more to go here. So then I went to that bigger barbershop in my town where I was teaching, where I met Josh.
Right.
But again, I had that first instance where I had, okay, this is the next step, and then the next barbershop where I met Josh, where I was working there. It was actually a really good environment. They were teaching a lot, and I got a lot there. But again, eventually after a few years, I had the same thing. Then I went to MenSpire, you know. And in college, I had the same thing where I wasn't really getting too much from it. And every time I was going to the barbershop, I was learning more in one day than I maybe learned in the whole week where I was in the college. But from my mum, she wanted me to get the piece of paper, you know.
Yeah.
So I done with that. But for the rest, it was a formality, you know what I mean?
I'm not disrespecting the whole thing. There are some amazing colleges out there, there's some great
100%.
lecturers, there's some brilliant people.
But it is sad to see that young people go into it and maybe don't come out
get
the other end with
disheartened
much, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the problem, I think. Yeah, I've been trying really hard to kind of, our industries are awash with kind of ambassadors and brand ambassadors, which I know you guys don't obviously get involved in. But I've always had this idea that colleges should have their own brand ambassadors, that name barbers, reputable companies should be linked to their colleges and encouraged to go in and
100%. And I think you've just got to kind of really ask yourself that question of, like, how can I make these students better? If I can't offer them something, then somebody else can, because effectively we know that no matter what we do, there's going to be somebody out there that's better at it than maybe us. You know, that's just the nature of the beast.
Way it is,
so you've just got to be that humble and just realise that, look, if I can only take them to a certain point, then maybe I can get other people involved to maybe come in and do some demos or demonstrations. For example, like what the Great British Barber Bash team, education team do, like where they'll go in and do a day demo, and that just helps keep those people hungry. And
it's keeping that fire going. Obviously, when you guys both turned up at MenSpire, it was a matter of wow. We suddenly became this kind of Emerald City, and you're like, right, let's do this, and you're really excited and pumped. And it's trying to keep that energy amongst this young.
Yeah, they definitely.
These young barbers.
And it's hard. It does have to come from within at one point. You know, you've got to feel that fire, and you've just got to find people that inspire you. You know, like nowadays, obviously, we've got that great thing where, like, social media, see it as a positive, see it as a negative. Use it for positive things. Find people who inspire you, you know, and follow up on what they're saying. For example, like, obviously, our co-founder Sam, he offers mentorship courses and calls, where he's helping those people develop into that business mindset and likewise. So it's about finding the right mentor and finding what works for you. And often that's the reason that I found myself doing so well at MenSpire was because I fully immersed myself in it, you know. When I came from Glasgow, I was a little bit lost in terms of, even with my friendship, my social friendship group, you know. They probably weren't the right people. Great for having a laugh and having a good time with, but effectively they weren't the right people for me. And then when I came into MenSpire and I found so many like-minded people that were passionate and they were into the same things, it was like I was going back home, and even my girlfriend was saying, like, wow, every time you go down to MenSpire and come back up, you're like a different person, you know. So it was like that's the sort of thing that drove me, and I was like, right, I know I'm in the right place.
But I guess that's it. It's that personal development that's been really. It always seems key. When I've spoken to Josh, when I've spoken to anyone, around that MenSpire experience, it does seem that it is a matter of you've got all the opportunities are there, and it seems very supportive.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, 100%. We support each other, like 1,000%. You know, like we're always in contact. Any haircut that somebody posts within the company. This is what I think is so beautiful about having a team. You know, we can get so.
It feels like a family sometimes.
Yeah,
as
that's
well,
it. We can get so
like
self-centered, like you said, like the self-taught barbers that just want to work for themselves in a little kind of rented studio or whatever. That's fine. Like there's a place for everybody in the industry. But I know who I am as a person, and I thrive better as a team, because once you're having those down days, then you can kind of lean on somebody when you are, and somebody could give you that little bit of advice that could just change your day or could just change your mindset. And that's a beautiful thing about a team. When you're out there solo, yes, you're probably making a load of money and whatnot, but certainly you might not have those people to kind of rely on. And obviously, of course, people are going to have families, but sometimes it just needs people that are in that industry, you know, that understand what you're going through in order to help you.
That's it, that understanding. No, definitely. Now, we're going to get near the end of this, and I do want to just tap into the fact that you're about to launch another academy, a Netherlands academy, or is it Amsterdam? What's the...
Netherlands, because we've got educators from Jelle, who's the director of MenSpire Maastricht. He's part of our education team, so it is the whole of the Netherlands who are part of the education team.
And is that all set to go, or is it?
Yeah, so in July, we're
recording this in June, so it's coming in soon.
Away, yeah. So in Amsterdam now, because obviously the team's been growing massively and so many people have taken that next step up, the next step for us is really to release our academy. And from July 2025, we're going to be releasing one-to-one education with our education team, and then we're going to be running all of the MenSpire courses.
And you're just about, you're in now. You are lead educator at St Albans.
So that's what I'm doing right now, just continuing to develop the young people, and certainly people that are a little bit older that come through and wanting to take that step into the barbering industry, and continuing to do my one-to-ones and some of our professional courses as well, which is beautiful, and also mixing in a little bit of travelling here and there with Josh and the MenSpire education team. So that's it for me in terms of what I'm doing. And just really enjoying it and just really settling into this role that I've been given, and just try to do the MenSpire team proud.
Fantastic. Guys, it's been a joy talking to you.
Lovely.
Thank you for being so straight and honest with us. I guess the big one that's come out for me today has been this reminder that it's really important to find mentors, whether they're in the industry or without it. It's important that you've got some kind of steady rocks to hang on to.
100%.
When the waves get a bit higher, you can cling on.
100%.
Really like that. Enjoyed that episode. Thank you very much. I've been Anthony Leban, and we have been the Noble Barber Podcast.
Thanks for listening.
Much. Welcome to the Noble Barber Podcast. We're always looking for interesting people and interesting stories. If you know someone, or you are someone with a great story that you want to share, get in touch and come and join me on the sofa. Thanks very much for listening. I hope you've enjoyed the episode, and we'll see you next time.